Yeah, sure.
I started my teacher training course in September, and it's really full on. So you're working full time, and you're going to university as well and doing that work. And then I thought, why don't I do just one little diary comic, just one a week? Because that's all I can manage. I can't manage one a day. And it's just capturing, like, just, little parts of the day. Like, there was, on the first day, we didn't have lanyards for allergies and dietary requirements. So we had a vegetarian girl, ate chicken, chicken drumstick. So I thought, I should put that in my comic. Everybody needs to know about it.
Oh, that's fucking brilliant. That is. That reminds me of a time when Bristol one year. I was so fucking hungover, surprise, and I'd gone out for like a sandwich or something, and it got salami in it, right? And I was like halfway through, and I thought this doesn't taste like a cheese sandwich, and it was just like. And I just threw it on the table and said, I can't eat that. And someone said to me, what's wrong with it? And I said, oh, it's got meat. And I said, I can't see why you wouldn't eat it. And I just thought, you know, Jesus.
People are weird. It's like that time when we were in Angoulême and we had the couscous, the vegetarian couscous, which was just lamb.
Solid lamb with the hooves in it. I tell people about that and they just don't believe it. It's just like, no, it's true. It's all true. They look amazing. So you've basically condensed a week down into like a page.
Yeah, just try and pick the best moment the memorable moment, just as a way of, collecting memories.
No, can I see them again? Because that's.
Okay, so this was the first day one.
Oh yeah, look at that.
When it's a new school and I felt sick and I was worried about being there, and I wrote started my teacher training and awesome. I spelled teacher wrong. So this is a great start to my new and then so I was in a room full of all these new people in this new school, and probably about 50. There's loads of staff because it's a 3-formentary school. Jeez. And they were like, right, now we're going to do some comedy improv. Oh, no, not on the first day.
No.
How cruel is that?
That is pretty bad.
It was awful. I felt so, even though I'm quite, liberated and I quite enjoy doing these, like my clowning and all these things, but first day at a new job, comedy improv, it just felt really unsettling.
Yeah, did you just say, no, fuck you, I'm not doing it?
No, because I just had to go along with it because it's a new job and I had to look like, oh yeah, I'm enjoying it so much.
So, teacher training, so how long is that, 3 years?
It's 1 year.
Oh, it's 1 year.
Because I've got a degree already.
Oh, so okay.
It's training in a school. It's called School-Centred Initial Teacher Training.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Because I was going to ask you about, obviously, with you doing the school stuff and everything. I mean, that's been like quite a few years now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been several years.
Like distant stares.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun working with children.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't do it otherwise to an extent. I mean, it's okay having a job to sort of pay the mortgage or whatever, but I mean, children is a really kind of, I think, you've got to really like it or not, I think. Otherwise, it's just, I would imagine quite a grueling experience.
Before Christmas, my teacher got COVID because you're partnered with somebody else who's, an experienced teacher, and you sort of shadow them, follow them, copy them, and then they watch you do lessons. That's kind of like partner shared work. And he got COVID just before Christmas, so I had to step in and teach all of the lessons on my own.
Oh wow!
With children, and for handwriting, I did cartoon drawing.
Brilliant.
I was like, oh no, it's fine motor skills. It's strengthening your arm and your shoulder, and it all helps when you're, trying to write and form your letters, drawing the circles of the cartoons. Yeah. And I did it for, I did loads of sessions of it.
I bet the kids loved it.
They loved it.
Yeah.
They absolutely loved it. And I I've moved to school now. I'm in a second placement, so I'm in year 4, and I've got left to do the handwriting on my own. It's like, oh,
Here we go.
okay. And I did it again. I did cartoon drawing for handwriting, and they were like, "But this isn't handwriting," because they're a bit older and they're more aware of what they should be doing. And I was like, "No, this is fine. This is my version of handwriting, and it's fine because of all the fine motor skills you're learning." And they were like, "Okay." And then when my teacher came back to teach real handwriting, they were like, "Oh, are we doing your version or Sally Ann's fun version?" She was like, "What's your fun version?" I was like, "Wow."
Let me tell you. That's brilliant though, because drawing and writing comics, it's I don't know how much you separate it out, because I don't think either of us are great ones for writing pre-writing a script or something. I think it's very much generally making stuff up.
I think so. Off the hoof.
Off the hoof, yeah.
Moments.
I'm afraid the hooves on my comic cow have gone a bit mouldy. My metaphor's terrible. But it's that, yeah, writing and drawing at the same time is a very kind of special motor skill, because I'm going to give us both a slap on the back for this, yeah.
Because I think you're using both sides of your brain at the same time. And I think you use those skills when you're reading picture books as well. So it's the way that your brain processes those two different sides of information coming in at the same time, and then you're drawing it as well, so it's coming out.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And anybody that's going to sort of argue this is just, they don't know what they're talking about. But
it is nice, though, to have that luxury of separating out the words, the story and the artwork. Like, I have worked in that process before, and I do like, having that control, exactly what you're going to say, knowing, and then knowing what you need to draw and assembling it. But then it does take out part of the magic, because when you've got your sketchbook and it's a blank page and you don't know what's going on there, and then something just pops out, well, you don't have to choose, do you? You can do anything you want in comics. You can do either way.
Yeah, and generally I don't. I just do the same thing every time, year after year, ad nauseum. But it was, I was trying to look through I've got like my comic collection, and because most of the stuff I just got rid of before I moved up to Hull, because I just couldn't bring it all up. Boxes and boxes of stuff I just put out on the street for people to take. But a few people's stuff I did keep, and I was trying to look for some of yours, right? I'm not going, and they're in another box somewhere, which is fucking great. So
on the street,
yeah, some dog had gone by and used it as a litter tray or whatever. And it's just like, no, it didn't. So I just picked up 2, so which I think shows kind of like 2 different sides to your work. And the thing is, the covers have fell off, and so I just stuck a cover on one of them, so I'm not sure whether it's the right cover or not. It's just like, but we'll pretend it is.
This level.
So I'd got one of those apparently from 2008. And what I think is interesting is, not only because it's interesting to read, I'm not going to go through it or anything, but with what you've just shown, the intensity of when you were doing it, a daily comic more or less on this, and how you've synthesized your experiences of the week into one page. I mean, okay, it's this is 2008, and I'm not saying it's any worse or any better, but it's just, these, I absolutely loved them, this stuff. I just, like, at my peak, I had a Sally Ann section on my shelf where all of these, the covers were falling off. It's like, oh, not the one that's held on with an elastic band. Oh, thanks a lot, Jesus. That's never going to be a collector's item,
the
is it?
The elastic band perished, and then they all just...
Yeah. Well, I think the cover perished before the elastic band on this. Where did you get this from? Was it from it looks like, I was going to say it's in a restaurant.
It's from a very special place called Paper Chase.
Oh, you don't say, yeah. I know.
Tottenham Court Road, when they had their flagship store, upstairs they had this beautiful department of like handmade papers and really nice things.
It's flock, isn't it? Or whatever you call
flock.
it. Yeah. I wonder
Flocking out.
Yeah, it's a flock in disgrace. Look at it. Oh, there's. Oh God, you've actually autographed this one. I think you should see what you've autographed this one. Where the fuck? You see, this is the kind of personalisation you don't get when you go to Gosh and you got some old comic pro going, ooh, just scribbling the name. It's like, no, that's the sort of stuff you want on there. That's. I assume that you still haven't got the flowery pant since this was 2011. Mind you, if you go to my wardrobe, they'd probably still, if it was me, they'd probably still be there. But anyway, I think these, when you were doing the diary comics, I actually really look forward to them, not just because I was looking to see if I was in them, but also because it gave, it was that kind of just really sort of intense recording of events that were happening in the time for you. When you obviously had a splurge and said, right, this couple of months is going into this thing, and it's like always a good thing about sort of. I'm glad they're called diary comics rather than autobio, because I'm fucking sick of calling stuff autobio comics, and it's just like, but it was, it was always just like a window into somebody's kind of, or a door, or I don't know, whatever you call it. A stained gusset of insight.
I think when you're writing and drawing in that intensity every day, capturing all those moments, I think you kind of like, you go through a process of, you get a load of like rubbish out of your system, and then you start like diving down into more like of your subconscious, and you get more out of it, I think, the more that you do it and the further that you go.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I've because not that I want to talk about myself, which you probably find very surprising, because I'm never tired of talking about myself, but because this is the thing that people associate me with, the dreaded autobiocomics, but and occasionally people go, oh, it's very personal what you write, and I think it's not, because it's so removed. If I actually wrote about my own personal stuff, I couldn't do it. I'm very kind of like, there's certain things I keep very kind of to myself, and that's fine. So when people, oh, it's so personal, it's like, no, it's not. I mean, look at it. It's fucking years ago this stuff happened. I'd never be writing about what I'm up to now. I mean, the occasional nuddy dash in a hotel, that's fine, but the actual depth of feeling, or personal things that happen, it's just like, no way, I couldn't do that thing. That's why I enjoy being a voyeur and reading people like your comics. It's just like, yeah, vicariously experiencing somebody else's life, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you get sucked in. You're like, whoa, what is this? Yeah. Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And to the other side of it, which is, I found this as well, which I'd forgotten. I hadn't forgotten, but now correct me if I'm wrong. Was this for your MA?
Yes, my Masters of Illustration
Fantastic.
project.
And
Chapter 1.
Yeah, Chapter 1. do you know, fucking hell, I spent £5 on that. Jesus. Fucking hell. I got rinsed there, didn't I? Now, as well as the cartoon, which I believe, I believe these might have been what you sent me, but which is fine. But I thought what was really interesting as well is when you did the lino stuff.
Yes, that's actually scraper board.
Oh shit! What was really interesting was when you did the scraper board stuff.
Yes, that was when I discovered Lena Hoven, is it?
Oh, okay.
German cartoonist. She uses just scraper board in her cartoons.
That's fucking great, yeah. And obviously, you made the conscious decision, because you were drawing miners underground, that it would lend itself to that kind of underground dark feel to it.
Also, it was like scraping away at the surface.
Yes, I did.
Like you know,
like you would be with your pickaxe, yeah. Oh, God. Did you? I asked you this before. Did you have? Was your family miners, grandparents, Granddads. Dads. Some
My dad,
people. Your many dads that
my
worked
dad
in
and my
mines.
granddad.
Wow. Yeah. I think we've had this conversation many times, but I'm so old now I can't remember it. But yeah, mine was I had like one side of my family, they were miners as well. Um, but yeah, by the time I come around, I didn't have to be sent down to mine.
You escaped it.
I did, yeah. I just become a waster instead.
To the bright lights of comic making.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I learned to sort of live with the vast wealth I was generating from it. Yeah. Now that's I mean, doing an MA in illustration. I mean, I always found it fascinating, illustration. I have no idea how you illustrate. I kind of, because it's people say, oh, you draw, so you must know how to design and you must know how to illustrate. And it's like, no, they're two disciplines that have very specific skills to them. I mean, they can overlap, obviously, but I mean, do you think now it's kind of you benefited from it at all? I mean, here's the thing, right? I did an MA in printmaking, and it took about 100 years for it actually to be useful, but it's finally kind of has been. I mean, because I become fascinated with that money sink, which is called screen printing, and it's just like, yes, exactly. And it's like, oh my god, why have I started this? But yeah, do you think it's just an extension of your already drawing skills, or
possibly? I mean, it's hard to give yourself time. I think sometimes for me to do these things, and doing a master's, you think, oh well, that makes me have the time. It makes it official, and I have to do all these things to make it happen, and it becomes like not the luxury that you see it as. Like, oh, I'm spending this time on myself. It's for something else. It's for a master's. It's not about me being self-indulgent.
Yeah.
It's me, furthering myself with education.
Yeah, I hear that. It's it quickly becomes another thing, and then it's got that kind of pressure's probably not the word, but it's got that added kind of yeah. I can't sit around in my pants drawing because now I have these things to do with it, and it's again not talking about myself, but one of for you. I mean, my whole kind of creative stuff's been a massive indulgence, and I love it. I love to be able to indulge in myself, and I hope to do more of it. But it was only when I came up here that I could afford to not work or minimal work that it finally became the very thing that you just said, which is that, hey, I do actually have the time, and the only demands are the ones that I make on myself. And previous to that, it was never the case. It was always something, even if it was a course or if it was work, whatever it was. You never had that piece of time every day, all day.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it's fucking brilliant. So I hope you get to that point. I'd like to do the thing of like, well, it's not what I actually. I do recommend it. But the other side of it as well is that when you're in a situation where, like you're talking about your teacher training, and obviously the job is going to become the main part of your life, but forever. But it doesn't stop you doing the other things. And I don't need to tell you this. It's amazing how much you do fit around something that is the. I mean, it'll be your career and you enjoy it, but it's the money generator. It's the thing that keeps you afloat, and then everything else. I mean, I haven't even touched on the fact that you're a musician. I haven't even touched on the fact, like you say, you're clowning, and fuck me, there's probably 101 other things you do. I don't know how the hell you've ever fit any of it in, but you do, because you just do. I mean, stuff may at one point take a back seat, and then you think, oh, I used to do that. I'd like to try it again. But I mean, so okay, with your comic thing at the moment, what's the other thing that's taking up your time at the moment? How's the music going? Oh, shouldn't I ask? Should I not ask? It's like, because that is such a demanding thing. I mean,
again, it's the time constraints. You need that time You need like a load of empty time before you can even get to that other time.
I can't imagine it.
To put your head in the space where you need to be, I feel.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I've said this to you before. I can't even. All the people that I know that are musicians, I just can't even imagine kind of how you do it. It just seems to be. I mean, I think drawing and making comics and stuff like that, it is time consuming, but it's not. I think with music, it seems to be you just constantly honing a skill because eventually that has to be put in front of people in a more exposed way than anything I can think of. And okay,
definitely. And if you don't put the practice in, it shows.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
You go backwards every day that you're not practicing. You're going a day back.
I can't imagine it. It's just like.
But it's like a brilliant quote somewhere saying, if you want to do something, you'll find a way to do it. If you don't want to do something, you'll find an excuse.
Yeah. Yes.
So true.
It's absolutely true. That's why my days of juggling and guitar playing are way behind me. Jeez, I struggle to concentrate on more than one thing. I was going to ask like loads of questions about comics and stuff like that. There's no fucking point. I mean, I think you've answered that with what you showed with your diary comic, and I always think there doesn't have to be an outcome to what you do with these things. I mean, here's the thing, right? Recently, Paul Rainey is now going to be published by Drawn and Quarterly.
Superstar of.
It's just like
wow.
Who knew? And it's like had a run of it, and I mean, he's, as you know, he's just never give up. He's always been consistent on it, and okay, won the kind of like Observer thing after 20 attempts or whatever it was, and
it's incredible.
It's amazing.
It just goes to show. Genius is just persistence.
Yeah, that's right.
The old quotes.
Yeah, it's just everyone else dies and you're the only one left.
Constantly cranking out comics.
But I also felt this real kind of like I've lost my way in a kind of joking sense that I've just really enjoyed indulging myself in printmaking. Making any old fucking shit really, just trying something, especially with the last thing I've done, which is kind of like stenciling, going out and making sort of agitprop stuff, whatever it is, and it's been really good. I fucking enjoyed it, and then I suddenly realised, actually, wasn't I supposed to be making comics? And it was a real kind of like, yeah, I better sort of remember to do that. So yeah, it's good that way. And where it was in what it was called, and we had the exhibition, and then it just on the day it just pissed it down all day. Were you part of that? You were part of that, weren't you?
Was it in Soho?
Yeah, that's it. Was
it a painting exhibition?
Sort of. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it was on the night it just pissed it. Never stopped raining, and nobody came. But I think we had Kieran Gillen there, and
Kieran was there.
Yeah, and he
gave me a lovely critique of my paintings.
Oh, did he? I love it. What a lovely guy.
They were good times.
But I was thinking the other day, it's like 2008 was when we finished, so it's like already like about 3,000 decades ago. It's mad, isn't it?
It's a long time ago.
Yeah,
a really long time ago.
And it's just like, so I'm going to be putting another proposal together. I'm going to be writing a very kind of I don't know how accurate it is, but like a history of small self-publishing, small press.
Oh, that's so cool.
Primarily from the period of time I've been involved, but obviously the bit that was the kind of UCAT years or whatever, fast fiction stuff. And I was just idling thinking about the impact of various groups that we've known. I mean, now it's getting to the point where I don't know anybody. I mean, I know a cut-off. And I was just thinking of those periods. I mean, with us and Dimitri now, not Jimmy Gherkin, and that false rivalry I had with them. And you were more entrenched with the alternative press. Like, you used to go along to their events a lot more than we did. And I kind of think that now, I've said this before, I said this to Gareth Brooks, I just said, I wish I'd been with your group, because with hindsight, it was so much more creative and fun instead of the like bunch of tossers we and that I use that in a sort of joking manner, but it seemed like I missed out on a chunk of really good stuff with that. I was too at my own arse at that point, and I just quite sniffy that you weren't proper comics people or something like that. It seemed all ridiculous, really.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the with regards to the actual thing in Hull, the idea was that people see comics. I'd say like, oh, I'm a cartoonist, I make comics. Oh, okay, fine. And you drag something out, and people are not really. Well, what is this? What is this? What is this shit? What is it? What is this? You know that kind of response. So I thought, okay, well, have it. So we'll put some. I mean, in an ideal situation, I would have had half a dozen pages from everybody and just have like 6 people. But I was going to just print stuff off and nail it to the wall, right? And I tried it, and it looked so fucking crap that I thought, oh, nobody will thank me for that. So that's why I just boiled it down to 4 pages. There's two pages of everybody at the moment, and then with me extended, I'm just going to swap them around so people can have a look. But they've kind of like looked at them, and it's like, oh, I didn't know, because there's so many different visual forms there. It's like, oh, I didn't know that they did this, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
So, and there's one wall which is where I just like, that's probably why I've got no mini comics, because I just took the pages out of loads of ones that I've got and I've nailed them up. So it's like a wall of zines there. And I haven't even got round to actually covering that yet, because that means tagging everybody on it.
Yeah.
And I will do, but it was just, when I'd done that, I was just like, it felt to me, I mean, it's great having all the kind of like framed stuff, but it felt to me like this is actually what it's about. It's great to see just these black and white pages stuck on a wall and that, and then them hanging off strings and things like that.
Yeah, the actual objects are much more interesting,
I think so.
And the like just opening up a book like that and then dipping in, it feels more, especially with autobiographical comics. Feels like, you know, you're entering someone's mind.
Yes, absolutely. I agree massively about that. And because we're both talking on iPads, and I don't know how many comics you've got on your iPad, but I've got far too many. And I just don't get anything. I obviously read them, but I still don't feel 100% like I'm getting the same experience. I mean, it's very much, I can read a lot of them if I want to, but it's not the same as like, I'm just sitting in the bath with one and I've dropped it in the bath or whatever.
Yeah. It's a tactile experience, because you can pick up a book and it's the weight of it and the feel of the pages and, you know, the smell of the ink.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of them I've dragged out from the crypt of my box. It's like, I don't think they should be brought out again. It's like they've gone off. I don't know what's wrong with them. It's just like, but yeah. And the most recent thing that I've made, which was a foolish thing that I'm doing, which is my protest comic. It's all screen printed. And that's it's one of the most idiotic things I've ever done creatively, because it just won't stop. It's just like, it's just of just idiocy and despair.
Oh.
Because it's just like, why have you started this? But yeah, it was, the whole idea of that was the very point that you made, which is to return to some sort of like tactile approach to making comics, because it's very easy now to just sort of make a PDF and send them up and get a lovely comic back that you, going back into the mists of time, you never really thought that would be the outcome of what you're making.
When I started to have a colour comic, that was like, that's never going to happen. It cost thousands of pounds to do it cheaply, but then you lose something.
Yeah.
You think you lose something.
I mean, I kind of, I still have this problem with shiny paper, even after all this time. It's like, I don't like shiny paper, but you obviously do lose something. But then I think, in a way, a lot of people that consume comics, buy them, really don't give a shit. It's just like there's a kind of like production value now that is, I wouldn't say expected. I'm not saying people are that narrow in their tastes, but it's kind of like the norm rather than, oh, this is, and that's been like that for a long time. I'm not saying it's a recent thing. But yeah, that's why having a look at these again. And the thing is that at the space we've got a photocopier, paper and everything, and it's like, oh, it's like the old days. It's like
returning back to the old ways.
That's right. Yeah, I'll start rubbing some sticks and make a fire as well while I'm at it. But there is something it's just very satisfying about that. Yeah, it's gone through a photocopier. You fold it, you staple it with your long arm stapler. Hopefully they're in the middle of the fold, but generally
always the wonky one.
It's just it won't open properly, and it's just like it's done. There we go. I mean, the opportunity to sort of make all these things. I think I've really missed that, and that's why ever since I've been here, it's just taken over. It's just like making stuff, but obviously making stuff is a very important part of what we do, and I think you talk about tactile quality of things is very important as well. It's not just kind of like about, I mean, now most people say making comics is all about storytelling. Anything's about storytelling. It's your story, it's everybody's. Storytelling is the main thing. And yeah, it is. I mean, it's an important element. But I think for a practitioner, making shit's important. I think. And just whether it's just like make a story, making a drawing, putting it into a finished form or whatever, I think making and process are an important part of it, or it just becomes a very kind of sterile occupation stroke process that is just there to eventually just be a money generator, which is nice, but it's not everything. Thanks for sharing your thing. I think it's obviously you're not kind of. I think you should just definitely. I always say this. Definitely keep it going, because I think it could be with that concentrated form decision making. I think it's going to be really solid. I'd really like to see like loads of it. So like at least 500 pages, I expect.
The opus.
The opus, yeah. So you can.
It's just the drawings are rubbish.
What?
I'm out of practice.
Hold on.
I'm not saying that I'm this amazing artist.
No.
But there's scrappy and there's scrappy.
Well, here's the thing. I keep saying here's the thing. Maybe it's better than that, than me saying fucking shit. I thought maybe my viewing of stuff's out of practice, but I thought I quite liked it. I thought there was a sense of organisation, and I thought there's a different feel to like layout to it. There was air around the figures.
It's so weird you say that. I'm really into like putting space around things.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. So I wouldn't discount it. Just keep doing it. If you think that's the shittiest drawings, then when it improves, how you feel it's improved, it's going to be fucking amazing. But to me, looking through a screen, I can't get any further. Where am I? Looking through a screen, it looked great, and it just really cheers me up to know that you've. I mean, I always know you're doing stuff, and it's not like, oh my god, she's like become a teacher, and it's like, she's a comics, she's a comic spinster or whatever it is. I don't even know. That makes sense. But I always know you're up to stuff. But to see that you are at something, I think it's really cool. Please carry on. I insist. In fact, I won't cut my beard till you've finished it.
Well, I finished the course in July, so.
Oh, jeez. Oh, well. No, I think I might have to trim it by then. So thank you very much. That's really good. And I'll do all the usual links and stuff like that to your work and everything. And, yeah, thank you for the interview. Thanks for joining in, blah, blah, blah. There, I've done that.